been a series of wonderful experiences. It's a pity I wasn't there for most of them. This is the prologue to the book that the poem we're going to be looking at today comes from. And these few words manage to capture one of the great challenges of our existence. And aren't they just so recognisable? Do you have any bad habits that you find it difficult to break? The truth is, we all do. And the poem we're going to look at, entitled Autobiography in 5 Chapters, deals with just that. The poem was written by a lady called Portia Nelson, who was an extraordinary, multi-talented individual. She was a singer, composer, vocal coach, lyricist, actress, painter and photographer. Quite a list. She was a favourite on the New York cabaret scene, singing with the likes of Harry Belafonte and Johnny Mathis. But she was also a composer, her trademark song being Make a Rainbow, which was sung at Bill Clinton's 1993 inauguration ceremony. She was a vocal coach for such greats as Rock Hudson and Julie Andrews, who she went on to star alongside in the celebrated Sound of Music as the slightly prickly Sister Berta. Like all of us, Portia Nelson has had her challenges in life. We can see through her poetry that she had her share of difficult relationships, and in her later life she battled repeatedly with cancer. It was not long after she had conquered breast cancer that Portia wrote the book that our poem comes from, titled There's a Hole in My Sidewalk, The Romance of Self-Discovery. It was first published in 1977, so this year is its 35-year anniversary, and it has become her most enduring legacy. The title poem is such a powerful text that it still inspires many people today and has been quoted in over 200 books, including Sogyal Rinpoche's bestseller, The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. It even became an integral part of the 12-step program, which helps people recover from addictions. So let's have a look at the poem now. Autobiography in 5 short chapters. Chapter 1. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I am in this same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down another street. These holes are, I'm sure, familiar to all of us. Those challenges that seem to crop up over and over again. This can be in the shape of major life experiences, relationships, addictions, and so on, but it is also found in our everyday dealings with the world. Even something as commonplace as being in a bad mood. On one level, we can view this poem as being a useful guide for overcoming our habitual behaviour, and it is immensely helpful for this. But it also has a much deeper philosophical message for us. How awake is it possible to be? And what effect does that have on our life experiences? For us to continually fall down the same holes, we must be, at least partly, asleep. We have no doubt all experienced the waking sleep described in Chapter 1, where actions are mechanical and we are working on autopilot, such as arriving somewhere in a car and not really knowing how we got there. The author says, "I am lost," and indeed we are, lost in thought. Our bodies are operating in the world, but our minds are somewhere else entirely. It's no real surprise that we fall into holes when in this state. This could possibly be said to be the worst habit of all, as we are missing out on our own life experiences. If we are a little more awake, we may behave like chapter 2. We see the hole, but we pretend we don't. But who's to blame? At this stage, we're still blaming something or someone else for our difficulties. It isn't my fault. Clearly, this pretense has to be dropped, and the shock of falling into the hole can actually be viewed as the key to waking us up out of our unaware, repetitive behaviour. We see this shift in chapter 3, the turning point of the poem. Here, Nelson illustrates that taking responsibility for our own actions is the key to this process of self-awareness and being fully conscious. It is my fault, she says, with an emphasis on the my. The author is awake enough now to realise that it is her fault. My eyes are open, she says, but the force of habit has caused her to fall in again. This seems to counsel us to be gentle with ourselves. Habits are powerful forces, and changing those we have practiced all our lives is going to take a little time. Once our eyes are open and we see those habits for what they are, something miraculous happens, because with awareness comes choice. Different paths appear. When we are fully awake to what is happening in this moment, now, we can engage with life, even choose a different street. Nelson puts it in a nutshell for us in another one of her poems. She says, "To live happily with a pet, one must first accept the responsibility of disciplining it consistently and firmly with much love. To live happily with ourselves, it is the same."